obviously I know about Juan Soto, but watching him day in and day out is so different than just watching him in an occasional playoff game or an occasional, series with the Nationals when he was with the Nats. And so watching him day in and day out, I fell in love with him before spring training ended. So I was really looking forward to the regular season.
You are Locked On Yankees, your daily New York Yankees podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Yankees, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. I'm Stacey Gotsulias. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. With me, as always, is my co-host, Brian McKeon. Brian, happy Friday.
Happy Friday. We have an exciting day ahead of us, exciting show for you guys ahead of us. And the Yankees did exactly like we asked. Why can't everyone do that?
Honestly, life would be so much better if people did what we wanted them to do all the time. Before we get started, don't forget, subscribe to the podcast on whichever podcasting platform you prefer. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube, like our videos, hit the bell so you know when those videos go live. And coming up on today's show, it's Fanmail Friday. Every Friday we do this. It's a lot of fun. So we'll be answering your questions. We'll be talking to Javi Reyes of Locked On Padres to preview the Yankees' visit to San Diego this weekend. But first, very quickly, the Yankees earned the split that we wanted them to earn.
Yeah, they went out and did what they had to do. You get a much better trip out to California now that you actually go back 2-2. You changed the whole outcome of how that series looked, right? You had the two devastating losses in game 1 and 2, and you completely flipped the script. And now you head out to the West Coast with, a little bit more positivity, right? Because you had the sweep in Minnesota. You came home and swept Chicago. And then you had those 2 losses. If you lose 3 out of 4, it kind of takes a damper off the way you've been playing. But now you win 2 in a row behind Gil having another tremendous start. I mean, 8 strikeouts, 6 innings. He wasn't even, dare I say, like that great. And he wound up having 1 hit, 8 Ks, 6 innings. And you look at the box score and he was tremendous. But if you watch that game, this was a lot like a bad Garrett Cole start, right? Where he was trying to figure it out all day and he couldn't find the strike zone. And he was all over the place. Exactly. And then you turn around and it's 8 strikeouts, 1 hit, no earned. And you're like, wow, how did he do that?
Well, so speaking of Garrett Cole signaled to Anthony Rizzo, settle him down a little bit. Rizzo went to talk to him and he kind of settled down. Luis Gil in 2 or 3 different IG stories made it a point to talk about Garrett Cole. He played a clip of Michael Kay pointing out Garrett Cole, telling Rizzo to calm him down. And he called him my teacher and said he's the best teacher in his IG story. So I love that so much.
Good guy to listen to.
Yep.
Rating Cy Young winner now, best pitcher in the game. Good guy to listen to.
Yeah. So Gil has a 2.11 ERA. He's thrown 55 1/3 innings this season. He's only allowed runs in 11 of those innings. In 3 innings, he's allowed 2 runs. In the other 8, he's allowed 1 run. Lefties are only hitting 156 against him, and righties are hitting 134. So
is that good?
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good. He's
been the most unbelievable. He's been maybe the top 3 story in all of baseball this year. He's been that good. Right now, I think don't know if he's the runner. He's the leader for the Cy Young in the AL. I find that hard to believe, but he's definitely the leader for Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
Like no doubt about it. So, with how good he's been, he could be in contention for the Cy Young. Now, I don't know if he's going to keep this up the rest of the year. It'll be pretty hard to believe that. He's only thrown a quarter of what you expect out of him for the year, just over a quarter of what you expect out of him for the year. But so far, so amazing.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was a good ending to a series that could have gone really badly, but did not. So good for the Yankees. They're on their way to California. I saw the pictures from Instagram on their way to the plane. They're there. They're up in the air. They're on the way out to San Diego. Everything should be fine. And speaking of San Diego, we are about to talk with Javi Reyes.
I'm just going to jump into it. Juan Soto is the storyline, obviously, for this series. It has to be. Coming back to San Diego, that's the other thing. Interleague play, it wasn't necessarily a guarantee that it would be in Petco. that the Padres and Yankees would be playing. So it's going to be on the Padres home turf. So I don't know. Let's just talk firstly, like, what has it been like? I imagine pretty good having Juan Soto at New York.
It's been amazing.
Dream come true.
I didn't really, obviously I know about Juan Soto, but watching him day in and day out is so different than just watching him in an occasional playoff game or an occasional, series with the Nationals when he was with the Nats. And so watching him day in and day out, I fell in love with him before spring training ended. So I was really looking forward to the regular season.
I've got a love for all great players and all great sports, obviously, but she's right. There is something to when a guy's on your own team and you watch him on a daily, the appreciation level just goes so high. And I know you understand this as well as anybody else. Every single at bat is a marvel, right? It's those 10 pitch at bats that just go by the wayside. No one even. It's funny when a regular player has a 10 pitch at bat. People talk about it for the next week. Oh, that great 10 pitch at bat that he had. Juan Soto, it feels like, does it in every game. So it becomes, it did it today again. Like it goes by the wayside and people just don't even realize this guy, he's a marvel to watch. And we've said it a million times. I would pay him literally whatever he wants.
Yeah, absolutely. And I imagine that's what's going to happen. And I think that, Stacey, you actually stumbled on something that it's different when you actually watch him play. One of the things that's fascinating, I think, for Padres fans is they knew he was good, obviously. Had a 400 on base last year. I think he was like 5th or 6th in MVP voting, something like that. He was excellent. But there was a bad vibe with the entire Padres team last year that I don't think a lot of people have too many Soto moments as Padres fans. Like I, as someone who lives on the East Coast and is a reformed Yankees fan, that like I've watched the Yankees play this year and it has been, as a Padres fan, very like, where was that with us? Like you played well, don't get me wrong. But like the energy, the vibe of like what it feels like to have this guy on this team, the way that having him on the team seemingly just made them the most entertaining they've been in, I'm going to say like at least 10 years that I can remember. It's not just him. There's plenty of characters on this team too, from Cabrera to, Marcus Stroman. There's been plenty, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of personality on this team. It just never clicked with the Padres. And I think that there's a lot of reasons for that. I think it's because if you know that a team traded for you and signed literally everybody except you, I think you're like, oh, so I'm definitely getting traded? That's weird all of a sudden. You know what I mean? Like that just must be a weird feeling. So whatever it was, though, he just wasn't, he was a great player. He had a weird first month, but like kind of the antithesis of what happened with his first month with the Yankees, but just really weird with the Padres. It's not, unless you watched them last year, you didn't feel it. You didn't feel like you had Juan Soto on your team. And I attribute that mostly to the rest of the team, but it was not the most fun experience. And I'm really curious to see how, frankly, the fans, I don't think they're going to be booing him. I think that'd be weird. He was traded. It's not like he left. You know what I mean? So I don't think that'll happen, but it's going to be a little weird. It's one of the rare situations where I think both sides, like it made sense. Like it made sense why Soto's in New York now. It's made sense why the Padres traded him. Like there's so many different angles to this that I don't know how. It's going to be really conflicting this weekend. I'll tell you, it's not going to be fun to watch from it.
Yeah, it's so odd because when you think of the players that the Padres had last year in that lineup, including Soto, they should have been so much better.
Yeah.
And they were similar to the Yankees in many ways last year, where you think they were going to get on a roll. Like maybe they won like 2 in a row and then they'd lose 3 in a row and they'd always lose them by like, a lot of runs. And it was just so inconsistent. And then they finally started clicking a little bit and it was too late because it was the end of the year and they couldn't make the playoffs. And I felt like the Padres and Yankees were very similar to each other last year. Like the expectations were high. The reality was not as high. And it just didn't work out the way it was supposed to. So
I think from the outside looking in, the Padres felt very sexy from the outside, right? You saw them from a distance and you saw all these great names, the Xander Bogaerts contract and Yu Darvish and Juan Soto and all these great guys that are on the team. And then you look at their record and you go, wait, that's their actual record. And you don't realize. And then you kept waiting all year for the Padres to catch fire, and you kept waiting for them for it to start clicking, and it never did. And it clicked a little bit in late August, early September, but it was too little, too late. It was just, you're right. The Juan Soto thing looked sexy on paper. When you wrote their lineup out, you were like, wow, this team's going to be hard to beat. And then all of a sudden, when it was actually on the field, the only thing other than how gorgeous the Padres uniforms look on Juan Soto, they didn't play as sexy as the uniforms looked. They never clicked with Juan Soto. The trade made sense. And I'll say this. I know Michael King was an up-and-coming sort of quasi-star for the Yankees. He really was pitching well for the Yankees towards the end. To me personally, and this might be a little bit of Juan Soto bias, it does feel like the Yankees stole him. Yeah. It just does, because, I mean, it doesn't feel like any package, barring, something crazy like Dominguez and Judge or Cole or something that's unrealistic. It doesn't feel like any package would have been not worth it. Because Juan Soto, we've said it 1,000 times, and Yankee fans in our comments, our fans of the show, get at me for it, but it's true. Juan Soto is Mickey Mantle. He's Ted Williams. He's the modern day Ted Williams. And he is. If you look at his numbers, they're oddly comparable if you look at the eras. So I don't really think that any trade they would have given up, barring something unrealistic, was really not worth it for what Juan Soto gives you.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why for me, it was more of like I think that the trade was good, but what's bad is that you got here. And it's like, I think those two separate discussions, but with Soto, and like you mentioned with the Padres last year, like they didn't win 4 games in a row until September 17th, which is insane. Yeah. Like the A's won 7 in a row at one point, I think last year or whatever. And no one, like, it was unbelievable. And as I've talked about on my show, if you go by clutch rating, if you want to use that on Fangraphs, they had the 3rd worst since 1996. I charted because that's when I was born. I don't know. Maybe there's other years that even before that. And the 2 other teams that were worse than them in that had like 90 wins. So like they were unbelievably disappointing on a level that I don't think has been talked about enough still. I really don't. I don't think people realize how impressive it was that they blew it, that they were terrible.
Well, especially because of the money that they spent, right? In that offseason, the amount that they invested into the team, the amount of prospects they traded away to improve their roster. And then you find out when the season ends that really what they were doing is they were going after it for 1 year. And everyone except for ownership knew that. Ownership was the only ones that knew the Padres were in it for 1 year. They were they were in it because they knew they had to trade Soto. They knew they were going to have to cut costs at some point. And they went up doing that. But it's so weird because you thought, with the amount of money the Padres had spent in the last couple of years, they're going to trade for Juan Soto and they're going to make him fall in love with this place and they're going to sign him to this mega deal because the Padres just print money. And then before you knew it, they're losing money and you don't know what they're doing. And it was a 1-year rental for them. And I mean, to your point, how much more disappointing could a 1-year rental have been? I mean, seriously, to not make the playoffs. I mean, and to have the 3rd worst clutch rating. I mean, it's one of the more ridiculous seasons we've seen in a long time.
So that was fun with Javi. You got to meet Javi finally. Have you met many of the other Locked On hosts yet?
No, I really haven't. I've only met Stacey.
So okay. We're going to have to set up some more crossovers with other people when the Yankees play their teams. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button on our videos, and hit the notification so you know when our videos go up. And if you want to be part of the next Fan Mail Friday, reply to the pinned comment on our videos Monday through Thursday, or you can join the Locked On Yankees Insiders Club. The link is in the description, and it isn't only for Fan Mail Friday. You'll get text from us. You can text us questions. You can text us while you're freaking out during a game. We get those a lot. And we'll give you injury updates, roster moves, and more. There's a 14-day free trial, and it's a lot of fun. And speaking of Fan Mail Friday, that is coming up next. Spring has sprung, and that means spring cleaning. Whether that means stocking up on cleaning supplies or swapping out your winter clothes for new spring clothes, make sure you're using Ibotta and get real cash back with every purchase. Ibotta is a free app that gives you the most cash back every time you shop on hundreds of items, from groceries to beauty supplies to toys. So you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. The average Ibotta user earns $256 per year. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip. part of a flight that you've been eyeing or a fancy dinner you've been craving? Other apps give you points that don't amount to much, but Ibotta gives you offers in the apps. You upload your receipt, you get real cash that you can cash out to your bank account, PayPal, or you can get gift cards. Join over the 50 million users and earn cash back every time you shop from over 2,700 brands and retailers, including all your favorite grocery stores, Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and more. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 for just trying Ibotta by using the code LOCKEDONMLB when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play, download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back and use code LOCKEDONMLB. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store and use the code LOCKEDONMLB. And Locked On Yankees is also sponsored by Supply House. Get supplies from the site that's made for skilled trades, supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with useful and helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. With thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at supplyhouse.com/TM for Trademaster, and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com. Welcome back to Locked On Yankees. Make sure you watch Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest sports stories of the day. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news. Streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And you can catch the hometown Yankees broadcast on SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search the word Yankees. We are here. It's Fanmail Friday again. And we're starting off with Betty because Betty is our tried and true insider who likes to ask us questions every week. And if you want your questions answered, of course, join the Insiders Club because you will get top priority like Betty. So here we go. Betty says, I'm struggling because I want to keep everyone, and I know that can't happen as injured players return. My question this week is, how do you see the infield being shuffled when LeMahieu returns?
Betty, I don't think it gets shuffled. Honestly, I think the infield stays exactly the way that it is, and I think LeMahieu becomes a utility guy. I think I think LeMahieu moves into the role that he was signed here to be.
Well, Boone already said he's going to play third.
I can't, but I can't imagine LeMahieu playing third base every day when he comes up when he couldn't stay healthy in Somerset for the most part. So I don't know how he's going to come up and play third base every single day. Maybe he does, but it's not like Cabrera has been that bad at third base.
Right. No, he hasn't.
Has he? He's hit. No. He's played a good fielding position. I can't imagine that's going to be the case. Maybe it is. I think LeMahieu winds up rotating more than being the third baseman.
Yeah, I think initially Boone's plan is third base, but I think as time goes on, it will become where he'll spot Glaber at second, maybe, definitely Rizzo at first, and Cabrera at third.
Super utility guy. And I think even if he plays at third to start when he comes back, there's going to be plenty of games where they're going to try and buy Rizzo a day. They're going to try and buy Glaber a day, and they're going to move LeMahieu around. So he might start at third base, and that might be his primary position, but I do believe he's going to move around more often than not.
Yeah. This question is for you. You can read it.
I got questions for Brian. I'm Brian, by the way. I asked Stacey and Steve this question before Steve left. What is your favorite baseball movie, and have you ever been to the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown? Believe it or not, I am not a sports movie guy. I don't know why. It's never been a thing with me. Like, I've seen a handful of sports movies. I loved 42, the Jackie Robinson one, because it felt like a really great historical analysis of how that time period was for him. But really, honestly, I'm not a baseball movie person. I just am not. I never have been. I'm not even a sports. I'm a huge NHL fan. Never seen Slapshot. Never seen Miracle. It doesn't, sports movies don't do it for me. I love Star Wars. I love horror movies. Sports movies just never did it. I'll watch any sport, but sports movies never did it to me. I've been to the Baseball Hall of Fame. I have. I love it. I think it's amazing. I've got a lot of controversial opinions on the Baseball Hall of Fame, but I've been there once before and I had an amazing time. I actually want to go again as an adult though, because when I went, I was like, I want to say 12 or 13 years old, and you don't really truly appreciate those kind of things when you're that age. Cool. Like you see it and you say, oh, cool, and you move along, but I actually want to go and see these things now as an adult. So I'll make my way up there fairly soon in the next few years.
See, you grew up in an era where there were sports movies, but I grew up where, you know, you had like Bull Durham, you had Major League, Bad News Bears, A League of Their Own came out just when I graduated high school. Like, so I was in that where all these sports movies were. Slapshot was before my time. I was alive, and my mom said that her and my dad went on a date night and someone babysat me, but I was only like 2 when that movie came out, so I didn't see it till I was older, but I love that movie. But I was in the right era for sports movies.
Yeah, like the best sports movie that came out when I was a kid was like The Blind Side. That was like the biggest sports movie that came out when I was. So I don't know. It never did it for me. It just it wasn't a thing for me as a child. I love Star Wars. I do love movies. It's just sports movies were never it for me.
Right.
Next question comes from David F. He asks, would you take Aroldis Chapman back right now if the Yankees could get him on the cheap? Yeah, I mean, I wasn't aware of his numbers because it wasn't made a big deal about. I just looked him up though. 0-3, 4.41, 30 strikeouts. I wouldn't even sniff this.
No,
honestly.
not even because of his numbers. It's enough with him. After what he did at the end of the last year that he played here, not even showing up. Yeah. Like, no. Why would we want him?
He's got an ego problem too. Like, he's not going to come in here and accept being a reliever that sits around and part of the team. No, he wants to be the closer, and the Yankees don't need that. That's not a problem they have right now. So I don't think there's a chance that you see Chapman back in a Yankee uniform anytime soon.
Yeah, no, I don't think anyone's clamoring for that. So I would hope not. But thank you for the question, David. Next one from Eric S. Do you think Boone has the ability to make in-game adjustments a pretty important skill come playoff time? Now, we spoke about this on yesterday's show, but I wanted to include this because people don't watch every day, so we can have this discussion again.
Does he have the ability to? I honestly think no. I honestly don't know. It feels like he doesn't. He never, ever, ever, ever does make in-game adjustments that feel like his own.
Right.
I don't know. Like, I want to give you a real answer, right? You guys come to this and you obviously send in questions on Fanmail Friday because you want answers. So I respect that. I don't have an answer for you. I genuinely want to give you one, and I don't have one. Mm-hmm. It doesn't feel like he does give adjustments. It doesn't feel like he does make adjustments. Yeah, that's the answer I have for you. I don't freaking know. I want to know, but it feels like everyone called Joe Girardi Binder Joe. It feels so much worse with Aaron Boone than it ever was with Girardi. And Girardi was an analytical guy. It feels 9 times worse than with Girardi. I don't think he makes any decisions on his own. I can honestly say that.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like he has that ability. I mean, we've seen it in the playoffs. We've seen it in the regular season. You know, this is how many seasons of this since 2018, and it just doesn't seem to get better.
I wanted to get rid of him last contract expiring, just full disclosure.
Yeah, me too.
I was ready to move on, but I mean, they're not going to. He's the manager of the team, but something about it. Sometimes when the fish stinks, the fish went bad, right? Like, sometimes it's that obvious, and I don't know. He doesn't feel like the long time baseball guy makes baseball decisions. Yeah, the problem is the players love him because he's a good players manager. But when it comes to in-game strategy, I say it all the time, and nothing against Aaron Boone. He seems like a good dude, but I feel like the Yankees, no matter who they have on the team, can't win with him as manager. They can't win the World Series with him because he will screw something up in the playoffs. We'll see. Talent does supersede a lot of bad coaching decisions in sports. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. I'm worried about that, but we'll see. Thank you for the question, Eric. We appreciate it. Actually, you know what? We have
room for one more. Let's do one more. This one is coming from YouTube from Big Georgie. I was wondering what you both, especially Stacey, thought about the Bronx Zoo 90 documentary on Peacock. Stacey, for someone who lived through that painful season, do you think it did that season justice? Was there anything you took out of it? I actually did watch it the other day, so
I've got to get to it. Full disclosure, I haven't watched it yet. That might be what I do after the show tonight, to be honest with you. After the Western Conference games end in basketball and hockey. How was it though? What did you think?
it's amazing. I forgot some of the stuff. Yeah, I forgot about some of the stuff. I forgot that they fired Bucky Dent in Boston, which is the ultimate insult after what he did in Boston 12 years before that. Steinbrenner, it really reminds you how crazy Steinbrenner was, because there's this whole revisionist history of Steinbrenner.
Oh, yeah.
Past a certain point, and people forget the craziness. I didn't forget the craziness, but it is elevated in this documentary. I thought it was fantastic. Because some people were like, why would they do a documentary about that year? And then you watch it, you're like, oh yeah, there was so much going on.
It's the most underspoken about thing in all sports history is the credit that George Steinbrenner gets, and you forget how many people wanted him nowhere near this. People were cheering in Yankee Stadium when he got suspended from baseball.
Yep, they showed that.
But I mean, everyone forgets that. Everyone forgets that. Everybody just, remembers the World Series and thinks it's all about him. If he doesn't get suspended from baseball, there's a very good chance that Stick Michael doesn't get to do what he does. People
there's no dynasty. There is no dynasty if he doesn't get suspended.
Yeah, people got to remember that.
Yep, there would have been a championship drought of... We might still be looking at it right now.
Yeah.
This might have been like the worst era of Yankees baseball ever, if that.
Remember that? I mean, I forgot exactly what the trade. I forgot exactly what the trade was, but there was a trade out there where he wanted to trade Mariano Rivera.
Mm-hmm.
He was fully on board trade Mariano Rivera, and he wasn't allowed to because Stick Michael held it back. So, I mean, that was very close to happening.
Yep. All right, coming up next, answering more of your questions for Fan Mail Friday, and maybe a very quick preview of the pitching matchups in San Diego.
It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. How about this, guys? I might be being a homer, and that's okay. If you want to take my if you want to tell me that I'm a homer, but let's go with the New York Rangers to bounce back even money, -110 on FanDuel Sportsbook. Bounce back even the series 1-1 and go back to Miami and get the series rolling again. If you visit FanDuel right now, again, any winning $5 bet gets you $150 in bonus bets. All you got to do is visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to make every playoff shot count. That's FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. You can find Locked On Sports Today now, available on the free Fire TV channels app. Stacey, 2 more Fan Mail Friday questions that are coming from YouTube. First, we go to Mr. Mallory94. Good year. Hopefully, it repeats itself. He wants to know what the lineup will be when DJ LeMahieu returns. I can tell you this. I really, really, really hope me and you pray to whatever God you believe in that Anthony Volpe stays in the leadoff spot and DJ LeMahieu is lower down in that lineup. He's coming off of an injury, and sometimes you get Wally pipped. And Anthony Volpe has done enough to stay in the leadoff spot. He's done more than enough to stay in the leadoff spot. He should stay in that spot, and I hope it continues that way.
Yeah, I think the part of the lineup that's going to be shuffled around a lot is the mid to lower part of the lineup. I don't think Boone's going to mess with the top. I really don't.
I think even when it comes to Verdugo being where he is, I think it's gonna stay with Volpe, Soto, Judge, Verdugo, and Stanton. I really think it's gonna remain that way. Everything below there, I think, is up for grabs. I mean, I think you could see LeMahieu batting after Stanton. You could see LeMahieu batting more towards the bottom of the lineup, like after Trevino, because I think that's a decent spot because he becomes a de facto leadoff hitter. Then later on in games, you can take advantage of Anthony Volpe's power, which he has. So I think there's a chance that becomes a spot that you put him in, maybe in the 9 hole, but you can't mess with that top 5. It's been too good. It's been too good so far.
Yep. Okay, our last question for this edition of Fan Mail Friday comes from Teacher Sama on YouTube. Dear Stacey and Brian, what do you think about having Dominguez as our 4th outfielder and DH once he comes back, and next season make him our center fielder and have Judge as our DH in order to protect him? I know that implies trading Stanton, which I think is a good idea now that he's healthy and productive.
I gotta say this again and again and again and again. Where does all the Stanton hate come from?
Right.
Like, why do so many people can't stand Giancarlo Stanton? Why would you want to trade him? He's playing like he's one of the top 5 power hitters in the American League this year.
Did we see the home run he hit on Thursday? He hit that off the end of his bat.
It was a pee. Like, why is there a desire to trade this guy? He makes, and by the way, people complain about all the money Stanton makes. He makes $22 million a year. Now, it's technically his salary is $27, but the Marlins pay $5 million of it per year. The Yankees are paying him $22 million. That's not a lot of money. It's not compared to what power hitters in the league get. With his production, $22 million is a bargain, actually. I don't know the want to trade him, and I'll shut down the argument with this. Stanton has a no-trade clause. He's a full no-trade clause. It was very difficult for the Marlins to trade him because the only teams that he was going to waive a no-trade clause for were the Dodgers or the Yankees. Those are the only teams that had a desire to go to, and the 2 teams that were in on him the most were the Cardinals and the Giants. And he vetoed trades to both of those spots. Stanton wants to play where Stanton wants to play. He was good enough with the Marlins to get that contract, and they gave him the no-trade clause when the Yankees inherited that contract. He's not, even if you want to trade him, even if the Yankees want to trade him, he's not going anywhere. There's nowhere that they're trading him to. And also, they're not going to make Judge a DH this early on in his career.
No,
they're not going to have a $42 million DH. They're not going to do that.
Yeah. Okay, quickly, the matchups in San Diego. You have Carlos Rodon against Yu Darvish. That's a interesting one. On Saturday, you have Marcus Stroman against Dylan Cease. These are not easy matchups at all.
No.
And Sunday, Clark Schmidt against Joe Musgrove. So
really, really good pitching series. If you're not a late stayer upper, then Sunday was going to be the only game that you're really going to catch. But I mean, what a tremendous series.
Yep. One more time before we end the week, don't forget to join the Locked On Yankees Insiders Club. There's a link in the description and a 14-day free trial. You get text from us. You can text us questions for Fan Mail Friday. And if you don't want to join the Insiders Club, you can leave your questions under the pinned comments on our videos on YouTube Monday through Thursday. And don't forget, you can catch the Yankees hometown broadcast on SiriusXM by downloading the SXM app and searching for Yankees. Coming up next week, recapping the series against the Padres, the Yanks will be continuing their West Coast road trip with stops in Anaheim and San Francisco. So obviously, we'll be discussing those games and previewing those series. And of course, we'll be updating you on what's happening on the farm I almost said for Fan Mail Friday. It's Miners Monday. My goodness. Well, when we were thinking of alliteration, like Farm Fridays, Miners Monday, and we went with Miners Monday. So that's why that almost came out. Yeah. So that's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Yankees. I'm Stacey Gotsoulias.
And I'm Brian McKeon. We'll see you guys next week.